We're back. You've all probably heard this song before, although few of you have probably heard it from this game. I came to the realization that all the previous videos, my voice sounded like I was basically blowing out the audio every single time, so I turned that down just a little bit, and we'll see if that helps things. But maybe now it's way too quiet. Who knows? This is Ice Climber. Like I said in the tail end of the previous video, known probably by most people more for Smash Brothers than anything else. But did you know it was a game before it was just a character? Yeah, it was. It was, this game specifically, an arcade-style pseudo-platformer with, really floaty jumping. But, yeah. Immediately we're experiencing the floatiness. But you have a hammer, so, you know, it can't bug you too much. Any game that gives you a hammer is good enough. A little worried about that bird. I'm gonna come out pretty straight. I have played like maybe 3 minutes of Ice Climbers in my entire life, so this is gonna be about as blind as you can get while having still technically played it. Come on now. That arc that you see me jumping at, that's about as well as you jump. No bonus because we fell because our jumping arc is bad. I've heard, you know, people talk about Ice Climber in the past, and that is the most frequent theme, is that it's very much jumping before jumping was really figured out. By that I mean, of course, you know, you've got your Super Mario Brothers out there, your games that just nail it. But Super Mario Brothers, at the time that it came out, was very much an anomaly in how well it played. Most platformers controlled more like this, where you're kind of fighting against the game the whole time just to go where you want. But it's not that bad. I have still played games with worse jumping. That said, I've played games with considerably better jumping. You get very little, you know, leeway in where you're actually gonna go. And there you go, no bonus again. The bonus appears to be the hardest part of the game. That's probably just gonna stay that way. And we get an hour with Ice Climbers. Okay, now, because I said the bonus is the hardest part, I'm sure this game is going to get, like, stupid approximately right now. Attempting to, balance everything. Oh, what is going on here? It seems like... Is that like... Okay, I'm gonna be straight up with all of you. I don't know what's going on there. It's like that floor, like, oh, I see. It pushes you this direction. Okay, I do know what's going on. Thank God those things can't fall down a level without getting messed up, because otherwise that would have been a bad time. Oh no, it was still a bad time. Should have just conked it. Gonna be straight up. Okay. Okay, we're on a little more of an icy surface here. I got a lot to learn about this game. I might sound like I'm just kind of going from thought A to thought B at random. Oh no, we fell. And that's because that's exactly what we're doing. Oh, we died again. Okay, well, you don't get a lot of iframes in this game then. That is what I've learned. And as I suspected, because I disrespected the game and implied that the bonus was harder than the game itself, the game is now hard. They planned it that way, I'm pretty sure. Okay, we're good there. Get the lettuce, I guess. It's what every good ice climber needs to stay healthy. I think... Nope. I was gonna say, I think we'll actually make the bonus this time, but that's not so. Not so at all. Now, I did notice, and you probably noticed too, just because of my messing about with it, this game does actually just have a straight up like level select on the menu screen, which if you're just trying to, you know, beat the game, it's kind of a nice little feature, because then you don't gotta grind over from level 1 all over again. You'll lose your entire high score, I'm pretty sure, but what is going on here? I'm not sure if these icicles are as dangerous as they seem or not. And I sincerely mean the jumping arc in this game is abysmal. And what was that hitbox? You never know when you're gonna go through a platform and when you're actually gonna make it. Well, there you have it. That's Ice Climbers. That's the end. That was Mountain 4. So, yeah, we very much ate it big time. A total score of 75-40. I'm gonna go out on a limb and imply that that's probably not good. So yes, our score will reset back down to 0, but we're just gonna continue at Mountain 4. We're gonna see how far we can get through this, just using continues like this. You know, we're not setting any high scores here. If we somehow do make it through the whole game in an hour, which I doubt because I have a feeling I'm gonna be bad at it, and maybe we'll, you know, start from 1 again, do a little high score chasing. Right, yeah. That's not gonna go over well. Okay, so that's good to know. You can just jump up into that bird, and that will eliminate it from this existence. That was a very close call. By that I mean, you know, threaded the needle in that jump perfectly. This is the very icy surface, which you may expect that there would be icy surfaces from a game with ice in the name. Alright. Don't disrespect me like that, game. I mean, in fairness, I've already disrespected this game multiple times, but you know, I'm the real human. I can say that kind of stuff. Using eggplant emojis before they were cool. I would promise you that's the last time I'll make a reference to emojis on this channel, but I can't promise stuff like that. I don't know. Oh! Are we gonna do it? Yeah! Okay, so that's the first time that we've actually creamed a bonus. This being a video game, I am expecting to improve on this gradually. So do you have to catch those stalactites? Do you catch them for points, or do they kill you? I'm a little bit unsure. What is this? It's disgusting. Yeah. That is disgusting. It's the very definition of disgusting. What? You can't have jumping like this. Oh my gosh, they rebuild it. I was gonna say, you can't have jumping like this combined with tiny platforms like this. It's inhuman. Like, have some empathy for your fellow man, Nintendo. But no, I don't think this game was designed to be intentionally aggravating. I just think that, you know, it exists in that zeitgeist where games were a little bit, we'll be kind and say less technically impressive. Okay, they're rebuilding. We got the bird out of the way for now. I'm sure it'll come right back. The jumping is, it exists in a twisted world of being both precise and imprecise. I hope you never have to find out what that means, because it's a world of true terror. The kind of terror that is induced when you read the words Il Divo, and you realize, oh no, this is happening now. Okay, okay. I say, you know, it's no problem. We'll just continue to be terrible. I still don't trust that those things don't annihilate you if they hit you properly. I've just got a feeling that they have not been hitting me properly. want you to believe me when I say that I am certainly not trying to intentionally miss these miss these jumps. Like, you can see, it looks like you should make that, but you just kind of fall right through the platform. It's very, very Mega Man 1. No, Mega Man 1 handles considerably better than this. Okay, well, we did make it. You can wrap around the screen, so now I know that, for whatever little that'll help me with. This bonus stage seems doable. It's got fewer moving never mind, it's got moving platforms. There we go. I'm kind of at a loss for words playing this game. There goes the bonus. I'm at a loss for words because, you know, it's kind of messing with my psyche in a number of ways. It's not a shining example of the tech that it was on. I don't mean to be rude. But, if you wanted to set someone down with an NES for the first time, you probably wouldn't hand them Ice Climber right off the bat. You might not say, "This is what the NES is all about." Is it a functioning arcade game? Mostly. Is it the greatest arcade game even on the NES? Most definitely not. That clearly goes to Ikari Warriors. I'm just kidding. Okay. Well, we bit it there. I guess we probably, you know, we probably should have done that from the get-go. Quit trying to get cute. Just do what makes sense. Okay, so it's pushing us the other direction this time. That, I think, will actually be a boon. Yeah, that's actually helpful. Ha! You tried to inconvenience me? You've helped me, game. It is difficult, and a lot of that does have to do with the incredibly loose controls. But it's definitely not unmanageable. I mean, I'd say already it's easier than Clue Clue Land was. Do I really do this? Do I really get greedy? Nope, that was a mistake. Getting greedy for lettuce. I should have hopped on the thing first and then rode it into the lettuce and then jumped up. It was a whole thing that, you know, I kind of botched it. You wanna tell me what's going on here? Pardon me. What are you doing? Oh. Of all the rotten luck. No, that wasn't bad luck. That was me just kind of being bad. Make no mistake about it. The vast majority of NES-based misfortune can generally be attributed to the player being bad. There are some games where it's unavoidable and they're just terrible, terrible games that nobody can be good at. This is not one of them. It's a very rough around the edges game. I will not deny that for a moment. But if you're bad at it, it's because you're just bad at it. You can finagle these controls eventually. Given enough time and effort, you can eventually make peace with this jumping. I am likely not going to put that kind of effort in. Are these cucumbers or pickles? I guess, you know, pickles kind of are cucumbers. So it doesn't even matter. But it doesn't matter because we can't reach the end of a bonus anyway, so what are we worried about? Alright. I got nothing for you this time, guys. I mean, this, you know... I'm trying to think of any, like, unique, cool history to talk about with Ice Climbers, but there's nothing. You know, it's a game that, if not for Smash Brothers, would have gone completely forgotten in the Nintendo mythos. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this was a playable game in the original Animal Crossing. You know, back when they had, like, the, NESs that you could put in your house, and there were a bunch of different NES games that you could play. It was not an impressive collection, not by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, gosh, this is... I gotta get up there quick, because they're plugging that hole quicker than I can get up there. Okay, I think I get, like, one chance. Nope. Oh, no, I thought I would hit it with my hammer! Alright, well, that's a game over. Mountain 8. 15 minutes in, we made it to Mountain 8. So that's the kind of pacing that we're dealing with for now. Whoops. I don't like this old school thing of pausing during in-between menus. It's like, just get me back in the game, Chief! Put me in the game! Alright. Let's try this one again. This is a dastardly one. I cannot deny. I feel like you're best off trying to jump up here. You gotta time it just right. And then... that won't do it. That won't do it either. Nothing will do it. What I was gonna say is, I think you're best off trying to get onto a cloud on this side and then jumping up on this side. Otherwise, it's just a little too unpredictable. Yeah. That's the kind of thing you're looking for. My words ain't working today, guys. You know, the weekend's over. Gotta go back to work. Those creative energies aren't quite flowing like they should be. It's alright. Not every day can be perfect. Not every episode can hit every mark. Not every episode will hit every mark. No matter what kind of content you're creating. There is always room for error. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. That means you're always going to make errors. I mean, you will. Nothing's perfect. But it's always okay if you blunder something every now and then. And that's not just with content creation either. That goes with anything in life. If you massively muck up an important test, it's okay. It may seem like the end of the world at that moment, but you will recover. And it will turn out that it won't be the worst mistake you'll ever make in your life. Maybe that sounds not so convincing. Maybe that sounds more like, oh no, life is just going downhill from here. Shoot. No bonus. But no, my point is, mistakes are alright. And not being completely perfect is absolutely fine too. And that's how I'm going to convince you all to watch my content even when it's not the most invigorating that it is. Haha! Get shamed. No, never shame people into watching me playing video games. That would be a low, low, low move. Everybody who regularly participates in watching this content, I don't know what you're doing with your time. No. I thank you immensely. Everybody who is just checking it out once, maybe doesn't feel like it's your cup of tea, that's absolutely fine as well. If I can make a video and even one person out there enjoys it, then it was not a waste of my time. That's confirmation, by the way, that the icicles absolutely murder you. Oh, quit pushing pause. Pause doesn't skip things in this era. So the next time you mess up at work, or you mess up at school, or you are trying to create something and you don't think that you did an exceptional job, it's absolutely okay. I'm there with you. I feel you. I don't know if I've said this before, but nobody doubts me more than myself. I've gone through several periods where I've tried streaming or tried creating videos, and eventually I just kind of end up dropping it because I think, no, it's not worth it. What am I doing? What am I bringing to the table? Well, if you're not making anything, then you're not bringing anything to the table. Okay, so you really gotta kind of be specifically when you crunch the hammer like that. So, don't ask, what am I bringing to the table? Ask, what could I bring to the table? That's your positive thought for the day. You don't have to nail it, you just have to make an attempt. If I can Bob Ross you for a moment with that word of encouragement. There's a lot of, there's actually a lot of wisdom in Bob Ross. I understand he's, you know, he's been fairly memed upon, and not out of hate, definitely out of love. People, I think, have genuinely gotten a kick out of the resurgence of Bob Ross. Long may he live in death. People have gotten a kick out of his resurgence, I think, and, I think that that's a really good sign, honestly. The fact that people have, to this day, been finding so much entertainment from figures like Bob Ross, it goes to show you that negativity doesn't just pervade everything. I mean, and a little bit of negativity... What have we done? I had a thought and then that happened, and now I'm just confused out of my gourd. A little bit of negativity is necessary in life. Every now and then, you know, negativity keeps you grounded. It tells you, okay, let's be aware of the state of the situation here. Not everything's going to be great all the time. And that's not even necessarily negative. You know, that's just keeping your eyes open. However, this level is a purely negative thing. All things must be kept in balance. Positivity requires a dose of negativity. Good requires a dose of evil. Actually, I don't even know if that's necessarily true. Well, but then I always think back. I don't know if any of you are fans of Star Trek, the original series. There was a great episode where Captain Kirk gets split into two different versions of himself, like two physical copies of Captain Kirk, God forbid. And one of them had all of his good, virtuous traits. The other one had all of his evil traits. You know, yeah, because Captain Kirk, you know, so evil. But as it turned out, neither version of Kirk could function properly. The evil version was, of course, just over the top, wanted nothing but to manically cause chaos the whole time, cussed everybody out. Well, as much as, you know, as much as they'd allow cussing on the original series. And then the good Kirk just couldn't make any kind of decision. There was no aggression in his body. He couldn't make any tough decision. He was just kind of a flaccid existence of a man. And I've always enjoyed that episode. As far as Star Trek goes, that is one of the better episodes. I say that as if I don't typically like Star Trek. I do. What am I doing? That's the question. I know what I want to do. I was doing this the hard way last time. That's not helpful. I want to get up through that crack, but the game ain't having any of it. I want you to know just how frustrating the slippery physics are right now, because you don't just slip, it specifically pushes you in a direction. Like, it's really trying to push me, yeah, towards the edge like that. And it's not stopping. No, I couldn't jump and get it. At least I'm on this level now. This floor 7. But yeah, Star Trek. It's a good episode. You should watch it. I don't remember what it's called. I'm sure you can find it. You're all smart people. Even if you're not feeling smart sometimes. Everybody's smart in their own way. I am not smart with auto engineering. But I'm typically pretty smart with words. It may not seem like it. I was gonna say, careful what you say when you've got a live mic on for an hour every day. You're gonna wind up directly contradicting yourself one of these times. So Mountain 9. This is, I think, our first big mountain to climb if you know what I mean, if you know what I'm saying. And this is what's telling me that we most definitely will not get through this game in an hour. Because if the rest of the difficulty curve remains like this, then we're probably going to be spending quite a bit of time on some individual levels. Don't let those first ones confuse you. The game ain't a total pushover. It's just kind of a pushover for a little bit of time. I hate that hole, by the way. I don't see how you could possibly interpret my feelings for that hole in any other way. But just so that there's no confusion here, I'm not a fan of the hole. So I gotta get up there before that hole is plugged. But at what cost? At what cost have we reached our goal? Well, at the cost of exactly one life. To be precise. Nope. Oh my goodness. This is a particularly infuriating one right here. So for a second, I thought that there was no way to tell which way it would send you sliding, but after looking at the floor tiles for literally 3 seconds, I can now see that that was false. It's whichever direction the little slants are slanting. Is there a different verb you can use there? Is that the only thing slants can do? Is slant? Is slant even a noun? Now I'm really, confusing myself in ways that probably aren't even worth my time. It's not worth being confused about this. Oh, I thought I could get him out of there. There we go. Just get the bird out of here. Yeah, there we go. That's a... Okay. Bonus stage. The best part about a bonus stage is I don't believe you can actually die in one, so... You can certainly fail and not get the bonus at the end. I've done that enough. But at least we're done with Mountain 9 now. So what kind of atrocities is Mountain 10 about to commit? I see. I see. These kinds of atrocities. It's not so bad as long as you just remember that you can loop around the other side. That didn't work so well. Let's see what I should have done. Oh no, I'm back down to down to the bad floor. Wow. It's getting hectic. This game's getting legitimately hectic. Quit pressing start, it doesn't skip things. They didn't figure out how to make start skip things until... I don't even know. I don't know when that became a main thing in games. Yeah, you bring your eggplant up to the top of the mountain. Do whatever you want. If I do the wise thing and watch like 30 seconds of this video, I'll be able to tell if my voice volumes are good or not. But if I don't watch it, just tell me. There's a comment section, don't be shy. I won't make fun of you for watching my videos, that would be counterproductive. I can't promise I'll reply to every comment people make, but let's face it, there's really not enough volume for me to not. Bruh. We stranded that one. It had nowhere to go. And now, okay, we're on the second floor. Don't like how the cloud whisked me away into Neverland. And I don't like... okay, I like that. I like successfully, escaping certain death. I don't like running into birds. That's not a preferred pastime of mine. You wouldn't think that I didn't like it for how much I do it. Gosh. It's really hard to time your hammer when you're sliding across the entire stage. Okay, bonus time, here we go. Or as I like to call it, don't worry you won't die time. Just made that up now, it's really catchy. We're gonna, like, time out on this one, and that'll be the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened in history. I don't care what embarrassing historical fact you can... No, never mind. We just died normally. I'm not even embarrassed by that anymore, you know? That's just regular stuff now. It's alright. The mountain goes on. We smash the birds. Jump on the cloud. What, is this all you got for me? Is this what you call a challenge? What is this? The easiest mountain I've ever climbed? Well, as it so turns out, birds are dicks. It's hard to get, you know, a nice running start and get the momentum that you need. Excuse me. Oh, okay. Yeah, this mountain was easy. That one was very simple. A baby can do it. The bonus is gonna crush me, as tends to happen. The moving platforms are... That has happened so many times. You try to jump, you just get conked under there, and then you're still trying to maintain your momentum, and then you just walk right off the edge. That's not even like an ice climber specific issue, though. That happens in like every NES game ever. Excuse me. Well, way to just be in the wrong place at the wrong time there, Burb. There are how many mountains in this game? From when I perused the list at the start of this video, I thought there were like, what, like 32 of them or something like that? We're on 12, so don't forget about that. Yeah, 32 mountains. We're on 12. We're not even halfway. We're halfway through the video. We're not halfway through the game. So that would dictate, by the laws of averages and, you know, statistical pacing, that, yeah, we're definitely not getting through this whole game. Which I believe is a good thing, because it means that there's more to this game than what you'll see in a 1-hour video. And I don't see how that could ever be a bad thing. Maybe because that game is Ice Climbers. No, I don't want to be too rude to Ice Climbers. I mean, yeah, parts of it are making me, you know, lose my hair, but... I don't know how I feel about that. Okay, wait for that dude to, yeah. Okay. We're fine. We're mostly fine. I don't like, when you're trying to jump and then you see an enemy getting suspiciously close to your area. You're like, lay off me for a second there. However, if that wasn't the best combo jump I pulled off in this entire video, then I don't know what is. I love this bonus music, you know. Maybe it's the Melee nostalgia, maybe it's Maybelline. We'll never know. Oh, come on now. That's the one thing I cannot fault it. This, the music in the bonus stage is wonderful. I'm gonna time out. That's gonna be the saddest thing you've ever seen. Yeah, we don't... Alas! I mean, I guess I'm okay with it. It's the first time that we, you know, timed out instead of just straight up fell to our death. Imagine getting all that way up a mountain just to die. What is this, Mount Everest? Classy humor there. Facetious, by the way, you know, in case that wasn't painfully obvious. These are the worst. When you're on a tiny cloud, trying to punch a hole into the next floor, and then you do it. I like the part when you do it. I feel like that was the best save of my life. I feel like trying to jump up there is incredibly dangerous because of the icicle. I feel a lot of things. I have a lot of abstract feelings right now. Pretty much all directed towards this game. I'm good with that. Bird gets smacked. Okay, the bird doesn't want any smack. The bird wants me to land on it. Well, I call foul play. It's probably not even a foul, it's probably some other bird that no one cares about. I'm not up on my bird law, you'll have to excuse me. So, I don't like that little fortress that dude's trying to build up there, but it appears that, I can't get up there anyway, so... Wow. Staggering. Alright. I guess I have no choice but to be okay with it. It's way easier to do that than it looks. I know it looks like I'm probably just like being an absolute buffoon, and well, in a way I am. But it's hard. The game is difficult. This is about the worst timing I've ever seen. Oh, and then you gotta go back up there again. And all the while, they're probably gonna start plugging that hole. And then you're gonna say, what do I even... Icicles dropping, hole plugging, clouds going right and left. It's... Things are getting absolutely outrageous at this point. I hear ya. I understand. You think your boy here isn't capable of it. Not necessarily you, the viewer, more so the game specifically. Man, this is an aggravating level. And it's not even halfway! Like, this ain't even as bad as it's gonna get, you know? So if you ever hated the Ice Climbers, back when you played Super Smash Brothers, I feel like that's an okay stance to take. I assume that, you know, the girl Ice Climber is that one Nana? I believe it is. I would imagine that she'd show up in 2-player as the second player. But, you know, friends? Never heard of them. No, I have friends. They just don't play World of Warcraft. And that's okay. If you can't play whatever you want to play, then what's the point? That's bad. I should have seen that coming, given the pacing of the platform above me. Decent score right now, though. I mean, you know, decent by my standards. Yeah, let's just go this direction. Why not? I hate it. I'm really not a fan at all. I see. I feel, you know, like, I smashed it, but I don't know if it's possible to get up through there. I don't think it is. Which, you know, means I guess we'll do what is probably the obvious thing that they wanted you to do and go that way. What are you gonna do about that? You got me. Mountain 15, though. Nearly at the halfway point. At least there's content, you know. At least there's a considerable amount of levels for the time. It's not the most stacked game that you've ever seen on the NES. It's not Gauntlet with its, you know, 5 million levels. Gauntlet's a game, I got a real love-hate relationship with Gauntlet. Like, I have had very good times with Gauntlet, and at the same time, when I look at it in a lot of ways, I say, man, what a poorly made game. The Dynasty Warriors fan in me loves Gauntlet because that's all you're doing is just slaughtering hordes and hordes and hordes and hordes of monsters with very little thought. But boy, if you want to talk about a modern problem preventing an old school game, the monetization model of Gauntlet was heinous. It's like, hey, not only do you lose health when you take damage, but you're just constantly losing health in general. You want to talk about a way to just blatantly chew quarters, that's the way to do it. And yeah, quarter chewing isn't a problem at all. Did you see that? Did you see that? Quarter chewing is obviously not a problem on a home console, but you get some of the same frustrations with it regardless. Yeah, I just felt like that was not the time. That was not the time. The hammer works, except for when it doesn't. That's what you can learn from this. Oh my gosh. That was on me. Probably should have waited for it to come back out so I could, you know, give it a good classic conk. But you can't help but feel a little bit betrayed at the same time. Yeah, we're just gonna get rid of you immediately, and then hope that he doesn't get an opportunity to plug up the hole. Oh, he's going for it. Yeah, he's gonna do it. Consider me surprised that that happened. I can do this all day, man. Well, actually, I can do it for 1 hour. That's all I can grant you. We destroyed the icicle, which is a wonderful sign. We fell in the pit. That's a wonderful sign. We're pressing pause on the score screen again. This is the halfway mountain, though. You make it this far, congratulations, you're halfway through. Now, of course, just from the way that the game is laid out, you could just skip directly to Mountain 32 and say, I beat Ice Climbers! And I'm sure the true challenge is to, you know, just beat it all in one sitting, which if you can do that, nobody else has played Ice Climbers as much as you have. I'm pretty confident about that, at least. Can you not plug that area up? I kind of need it. Yeah, check this out. Oh, don't check it out. There's nothing happening there. Okay, I thought I could smash it, but no. Okay, birds out of the way. That's good news. No bird makes for a marginally easier time. And I use the word marginally very, very specifically. I don't like you. I don't like you either. Get out of here. Oh, you messing up my day? Yeah, let's just go this way. No, he got rushed right into him. You can't time it well enough. Don't know what happened, but it did. Whatever happened, absolutely happened. Yeah, how about we, you know, do it the way that we've already determined works? Or have I? I don't know. I'm doubting. I thought I was fine. And then I was betrayed. Alright, bonus stage. Good. Good. As we can get past this horrendous level. They're all horrendous. I mean, from a design standpoint, they're actually all very clever. I'm not saying they're horrible as in, like, they're actually horribly designed. Not at all. They're just, you know... They're frustrating. Okay. But frustrating in a way that you say, huh, wow, that required a truly devious mind to create. It's not just like they, you know, gave their 12-year-old cousin Super Mario Maker and then said, go for it. You know, believe it or not, here I am doing an entire series on NES games, and Nintendo is probably not even my favorite of the, well, I almost said big three, but I guess if you're looking at, like, retro gaming too, it's more like the big four if you put Sega in there. Nintendo's not even my favorite of all of the, major hardware developers. I'm probably a Sony guy, above and beyond anything else. I mean, I buy every system because there's a lot to see on all of them. So, why wouldn't you? If you've got the money for it, why wouldn't you? But if someone held a gun up to my head and said, you can only pick one manufacturer, it'd be Sony. Nintendo, don't get me wrong, has incredible first-party support, but if you're looking for something beyond first-party, I don't think it's a secret that they occasionally flub up a little bit. Looking at the Wii U's, specifically. I do have a Wii U. I didn't have it at launch, which is probably a good thing, because then my whole perception of it may have been skewed. I actually think it's a fascinating system in retrospect, but... But that is only retrospect. Okay, we still made it through that, somehow. You could probably, you know, just try to rush to the top without trying to get the carrots, but... Come on, where's the fun in that? You need to be healthy! That's not healthy at all. I'm trying to make jumps you can't make. Popo, I swear. Is it a coincidence that his name is Popo and he wears blue? Anyway, yeah, Nintendo's always had fantastic first-party support, and, you know, back in the NES days, you know, pretty good third-party support too. But Sony, it feels like you get a PlayStation, you can play just about anything you want, barring, of course, those exclusive IPs, but there's a lot of third-party stuff on Sony consoles, holy cow. Especially if, like, you look at the Vita, that thing, you know, it didn't have the most celebrated life, but it was a weeb's heaven. Do you know how many JRPGs and visual novels were on that thing? An absolutely insane amount. Same thing with the PSP. I don't know if it has so many visual novels, but there were so many JRPGs on the PSP. Oh, come on now. There we go. Forgot to unpause it. And of course, if you don't like JRPGs, well then you won't care, but that's the thing, there's so much more else on the PlayStation. A full suite of sports titles. I mean, they had MLB exclusive to them for, like, years. I think a solid decade. I think MLB, like the show, was the only officially licensed MLB video game, which, you know, that's... means very little if you're not into baseball, or at the very least not into baseball video games. But if you are, your only option. Plus, they've got every other game under the sun. There's no exclusivity with Madden or with FIFA or anything else like that. A lot of people get really, really angry about exclusivity, like to this day. And I guess I can see why. I can understand being frustrated that, you know, oh, so-and-so paid to have their game only on this system or something, and then we're like, oh, wow, what a dick move, you mean everybody can't play it? It's like, you know, game developers are not charities. I guess not just developers, publishers are not charities. And maybe that just sounds like, you know, oh, no! Maybe that just sounds like, you know, the chaotic neutral way of handling it, but it's the truth, you know, like... Gosh. No. If NX wants to pack up ship and stop publishing anything for the N64 and just do exclusively PlayStation, sure, they have their reasons. That's obviously ancient history. But even nowadays, I see people get really, really mad about stuff like... I think Deathloop is a timed PS4 exclusive, and they're like, a timed exclusive? How dare they? I'm like, it's timed. It'll be for your station eventually. It'll be on your console of choice with time. It's okay. You just have to wait a little bit longer. And I think that just stems from, you know, a lot of impatience within the hobby. And, you know, who am I to tell a person how to live? I'm not gonna be here saying, like, you should be patient or else you're a piece of junk. No, I get it. Games are exciting. People get excited for games. I am very excited for Cyberpunk 2077. It's been delayed twice. I could have been playing it by now if it weren't delayed. But at the same time, you know, it's just a game. There are many others. There will be many others to tide me over until then. I mean, look at this. I'm playing Ice Climbers because I can't play Cyberpunk, you know? If I can do it, anybody can. Don't worry, there are much more considerable experiences to fill your time with than Ice Climbers. Oh, no, don't you for a second think you can start pulling that on me. There we go, yeah, this looks a little bit safer, and I mean a little bit. This is still, you know what? This might actually be the best, highest... No, it was not. Oh my gosh. These moving plates are becoming the stuff of nightmares. These slidey sections where you're just... They're basically treadmills. That is what they mechanically are. They're so frustrating that I lost my entire train of thought. Which is probably going to happen a lot in this entire NES series. I was looking at the release schedule, for lack of a better term, for the NES and what we sort of got coming up, and boy, let me tell you, the wave of games after the original Black Box games is maybe the most unimpressive stretch of new titles that we will ever see on the NES. It is bleak. Which is why I tell people who watched the PlayStation 5 event and said, well, what the heck, these games don't look that impressive. I tell them, just wait. Name me a single console generation where the most impressive offerings were ever at launch. You can't, because that is not a thing. It always takes a while for a console to warm up, and that's always been the case, ever since the NES. You don't have Metroid at launch. You don't have The Legend of Zelda at launch. It's just not how it goes. This, I think, is going to be fairly safe. What? Huh? Okay. Patience with this game. You don't have a time limit on the actual mountains, so you can, you know... You can just chill for a while until that happens, and then you realize that life is unfair. What was I saying before? Honestly, don't even know. Was I talking about patience? I don't know. Dang game getting in the way of my rants. Who would have thought, right? Okay. This seems better. I'm just gonna, you know, hop off the side. Not get completely crushed by that thing. I don't even know what they're called. I knew what they were called at one point. They had a trophy in Melee. But that's old history. I say that as if I can't ever play Melee again. Like, it's literally on my shelf. There's nothing stopping me from playing it other than me just not putting the disc in. If you miss, like, one of these clouds, it really is kind of a death sentence for the entire bonus stage. Turns out going over there was a death sentence, too. Yeah, there is now not enough time. I would call that legitimately impossible at that point. Well, you know, may as well just fall off at that point. I don't think I was even going to squeeze one more eggplant in. Yeah, whatever I was talking about, I'm sure it had something to do with the fact that video games are cool, and I'm here for them. I know, was it when I was mentioning, I know I mentioned publishers are not your friend, but I think that was before then. You know, okay, spawning you on the slidey sections is the most heinous thing that this game does. I've decided that. This entire section is a nightmare. Come on now. I couldn't turn around. I spawned right on it. Did you witness that? Have you just witnessed the same thing that I have witnessed? It's got me pausing during the score menu again. What the heck? Oh no, 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 no. It's a tragedy as we know it. Our top score is 20,000 points, so that's something. Let's see if we can get past this level before this episode's over. I don't know. I don't really care to. This isn't a game that I would necessarily immediately be clamoring to pick up for my physical collection. I mean, I will eventually, more than likely, because, you know, it's a black box launch title. Yeah, everyone's got to have them all. Except I don't know about Gyromite and Stack Up. Those are kind of, you know... No, 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 no! No! This is the part of the game that they didn't put any thought into right here. Or maybe they did, and they thought, yes, this will truly test everyone's patience. Do you see this insanity here? Do you see what I'm seeing? I know you're seeing what I'm seeing because you're watching it. I know I've got the right, general, gosh, capture footage up here. You're not looking at me somehow playing Gex. That's for sure. I'm spooked, man. This is spooking me more than Clue Clue Land did. And Clue Clue Land was getting me pretty spooked. We're just never gonna make it there. Excuse me. This doesn't even look like the same level. Did I accidentally go to the wrong level? Or did I just completely space out the first part of this? It doesn't matter. We're at the tail end of this video anyway, so what is there to really be concerned about at this point? What on earth is going on in this? What? I mean, again, probably my fault. Probably should have ensured that the coast was clear. You need more iframes in this game. I mean, after what you saw at the end of that last level, that was highway robbery. That's something else. That is genuinely something. So yeah, it's certainly not my favorite of the Black Box originals. I had more fun with 10-Yard Fight, but honestly, 10-Yard Fight is just kind of that weird anomaly where everything about it is absurd, and yet it still overcomes all those odds and is fun anyway. I'm gonna be bringing it up for episodes and episodes to come, just because it's a perfect example of something can be just like completely wrong in every sense, and yet still feel right. Okay. That was a nice little sneak. This is less of a sneak. This is... Oh, guys like, oh, I need to fix that. You know, I'll give them that. They are diligent. They're tired of me desecrating their beautiful natural wilderness on the mountain. Let's go this way. This seems like a much smarter idea. Alright, come on, carry me up. Yeah, this is not the same level. I feel like I may have hit up or something like that and selected the wrong level. This one seems much, much easier. For all I know, it's one I've already done. Baiting you all out of quality content. How does it feel? I don't like it. It's an hour. I made it an hour. Not the best. A pretty rocky start. I'm unsurprised that this franchise didn't really receive any more attention or any more love later on down the line. It's the jumping, like I said, it's that terrible Twilight Zone of being incredibly imprecise and incredibly over-precise at the same time. The hitboxes are sloppy when you don't want them to be, and too chunky when you don't want them to be. Like, nothing ever feels like it gels. Nothing ever feels just mechanically sound. Everything feels like it's just kind of hanging on for dear life and is hoping that some kid will see it on the shelf and think, now that's the coolest looking game here, Ice Climber. But again, NES owners went through a several month span where all they had were the black box launch titles, so you get what you can get. I'm not particularly enticed with wanting to play more of it, but I'm sure it'll end up on my shelf one day nonetheless anyway, and when that happens, who knows, maybe I'll go through and decide, alright, I'm going to actually beat Ice Climber. Not in one go, mind you. Oh, no. I'm not ever going to high score on this game. That just sounds awful. But, you know, it is what you make of it, I guess. And what I make of it is an intensely flawed, mildly puzzly arcade platformer. Unfortunately, the platforming just isn't that good. Regardless, thank you so much for, again, spending your time here with me, watching me spend an hour in Ice Climber. Congratulations for whatever that's worth. Join me next time when I pull up the list of games to determine what it is that we're playing next. I'd like to give a little, a little sneak peek into what's going on here. Okay, next game. It's Kung Fu. Kung Fu is a rather well-liked game, so hopefully that will be good fun. I don't think I've actually ever played it, which surprises me. But I think it'll probably be a much nicer experience than Ice Climber. Either way, thanks for watching. Join me next time. Tell your dentist. We'll see you then.